Posted by user Killjoy2408. I cost my neighbors over $100,000. My neighbors have 9 cars total parked in the street. They always park 2 of those cars in front of my house and won't move them the whole week. We have a regulation where we live that you can't leave your car parked for more than 48 hours in the same spot. My neighbors have a pretty big driveway where they can fit 4 cars, but it's always empty. They've told me that they don't like to leave their driveway with cars because it looks tacky. Over half the cars they have, they don't even use. They just use them to save parking spots for themselves. In 2021, I noticed they were building a second unit. I'm at the back of their main house. I noticed that they completed the house in under a month. This raised some red flags because it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months, with city inspections taking the majority of time. I submitted a ticket with my city through the app and advised them that there might be some illegal residential buildings without permits. I didn't think much of it until a year later. I noticed my neighbors tearing down their second unit last week. Word got around our block that a city inspector was there making sure everything was being torn down. Based on what materials and labor they put into their second unit, I cost them over $100,000. Posted by user RodeoPete3281. Neighbors used my property as their own. Paid for new fence. I recently bought a house and have been having some work done before I move in. It was empty on the market for about 6 or 8 months before I bought it. One morning, I got a call from my contractor asking me about moving the cars in the driveway. And of course, I had no idea what he was talking about. I hadn't moved in yet. I left my job site and drove nearly a half hour to get there. As soon as I arrived, the people on the east side of me were walking towards the car. I asked if those were their cars and they said yes. They told me that they had been parking there for a few months with permission from the owners. I informed them that I was the new owner and they can't park there any longer. We went back and forth, and with the intention of being a good neighbor and trying to show some goodwill, I agreed to allow them to park there for a few more weeks until I move in, with the agreement that they would move them by 6 a.m. every morning. The rest of the week went by without incident. The contractor called me about scheduling a walkthrough on Saturday, and we set a time for early afternoon. When I arrived, there were 4 cars in the driveway and nowhere to park. The only on-street parking is 2 blocks away. I called them and asked them to move their vehicles, reminding them of our agreement. After 20 minutes, they finally came out and moved them. Speaking with them, they claimed to have misunderstood and thought our agreement only referred to weekdays and not weekends. I corrected them and moved on. Sunday morning, I grabbed a trailer and loaded some furniture to take over and store in the garage. Once again, there were cars in the driveway. I called them and got VM. I texted and said they had a few minutes until a tow truck could arrive to get them moved. No answer. I called a tow company. 45 minutes later, 2 tow trucks showed up, backed in, and hooked up to the cars. All of a sudden, the neighbors were home. They ran out to stop their cars from being towed, and it ended up costing them a little over $300 to get them unhooked. I called my contractor and asked if he knew someone who could put in a driveway gate, and he did. I let the neighbors know that they could no longer use my driveway. On Wednesday, I get a call from the gate installer telling me that there are cars in the driveway. I called them and said tow trucks are on the way. They moved. The gate was installed and I went by to pick up the opener that evening. The neighbor husband came out to confront me and I opted to just call the PD and deal with it legally. That Saturday, I went by to accept an outdoor furniture delivery and check on things when I noticed a towel beside the pool and a small kid's flotation device. My initial thought was that I just hadn't noticed it before, so I wrote it off and threw them both in the trash. On Saturday, the movers arrived with everything and we began moving things in. About 7 p.m., my daughter and I left to go grab some dinner, arriving back at the house around 9:30 p.m. The neighbors were in my pool. They were hanging out and using my furniture. When I opened the door and began raising hell, they told the kids to go to the house and the children ran to a corner of our fence and just walked through. They had cut out the privacy fence so it could be removed and had been using the pool at their leisure for who knows how long. Again, I called the police and filed a complaint. The dad was arrested for trespassing, DPP, and an outstanding warrant. And the oldest boy, 20 male, for an outstanding warrant. I replaced the fence with a new one because they had destroyed the posts, runners, and pickets by removing and reinstalling the panel. Small Claims awarded me the total cost of 83-inch of 8-inch privacy fence, which came out to $3,800. The following Monday morning, around 5 a.m., their cars were parked on the street where there's no street parking, so I made a phone call. They were gone when I left at 7 a.m. I haven't been paid yet, but I did notice a for rent sign in their yard this morning, so that's just as good. Good riddance. Posted by user, FCK me, I guess. Sister-in-law makes ableist comments towards me. Brother-in-law gets petty over Facebook. A bit of context. I, female 25, am currently pregnant with my wife, female 27, and our first child. My sister-in-law, female 32, is pregnant with her second and believes that everything I do with my pregnancy that isn't how she does things is wrong and will hurt the baby. On the other hand, my brother-in-law, male 31, and I are great friends, and him and his boyfriend are extremely supportive of my wife and I. About a week ago, sister-in-law called me lazy for buying a bottle machine for bottle prepping and stuck to her opinion when I explained that, being an amputee and missing a hand, I struggle with things that are designed to be used two-handed, telling my wife and I that having a baby isn't supposed to be easy. This caused a lot of drama within the family, and my mother-in-law asked me to apologize to keep the peace. Brother-in-law was furious and got mother-in-law to apologize to my wife and I decided to get petty with sister-in-law. Brother-in-law got a Facebook memory of a family bike ride 6 years ago and saw that sister-in-law was using an e-bike. So he commented lazy on a picture of sister-in-law and her husband in the post. He then went back through sister-in-law's Facebook and commented on every post with anything from a baby bouncer to a laptop to an electric kettle from 3 years with lazy. And she's getting so mad.